keep moving here a little bit.
Can we separate them? Tracy didn't want to separate them.
Right,
but
I would object to that, because
Okay.
I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right.
Well,
I just don't think it's fair.
okay. I would be amenable to taking out 1 and 2 families in this and reserving it for a relatively small number of houses. But if it's, I mean, we can make a motion, we can amend the motion, we can but I think we should make a decision one way or the other.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
All right. To recommend to the city council to amend the zoning ordinance, section 3.2.1, dimensional requirements for single, 2-family, and 3-family dwellings by amending the maximum building height in feet to 35 feet in the following zoning districts: R80, R40, RC40, R30, R20, R10, R5, CCD, CB, and VB as reflected in the drafted proposal. And I so move.
Okay, been moved. We have a second? Do we have a second?
I'm just struggling with this right now because I just look at some of this as being one of those motions or one of these that we should table. That's all, just because there are some unanswered guidelines that I just like to understand, and we'll understand those by the end of the month when the state, or by May. Is it May 2nd, Greg, when the state produces their final guidelines?
No, they haven't indicated when they would be complete. And again, I think, Councilor Grove's approach, and we've discussed this with the administration as well. The timing of the MBTA community has certainly caused confusion for people. On the one hand, again, because of the genesis of these proposed amendments, there's no, the council can certainly move forward on all of them and consider them currently. It seems like
I lost you there, Greg. I lost you. It seems there.
Greg, we're not hearing you. You sound like you're in a tunnel.
Greg? There you are. You're back. We lost you, but you're
You're
asking about-
mute. You're on mute. There you
sorry
go.
about that. My Wi-Fi came back, so it switched from my phone. So I was saying, again, I think, the thought was if the council was more comfortable to learn more about the MBTA communities before taking up these amendments, certainly wanted to provide the opportunity to do that. In which case, you kind of did that with one of the amendments earlier, again, to provide for more information. Again, I think if the sentiment around height is not really going to change, there's probably not a whole lot of advantage to waiting on that or separating it out, unless you feel like by doing so, by separating the 1 and 2 from the multifamily height requirement, that somehow that will change the discussion. Again, the more things, the more details that are in some of these proposed amendments, and trying to separate them out to focus the discussion certainly is a good approach to it. But if it moves forward right now as is on height, that's an acceptable way to have the discussion as well. I think that from the use perspective, That is definitely the focus of these proposed amendments. In the case of the R5, it is also the focus of the MBTA community requirements. So, you know, there is certainly something to be said that they are both talking about multifamily by right. But again, the origin and rationale for what's in front of you is born out of the housing production plan process. The state is now taking a role of trying to push the issue on multifamily by right through
Right.
the state zoning change. So again, on this particular amendment relating to height, would it potentially facilitate, you know, three-family development or multifamily development of three-family in other districts? It sure would create more flexibility for the use of third floor space. But, you know, that's where it kind of begins and ends. If people aren't comfortable with the increase in that height, then I don't think there's a lot's going to change in a week or a few months.
So let me
So,
go ahead, Tracy, this is,
yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. The reason to table the amendment would be to find out what the MBTA wants us to do?
Well, I
Or
think,
what the MBTA wants?
well, I think there certainly was a lot of public comment about MBTA community.
Right,
And if it's purely an option for the council, if you want to understand that more before you take action on particulars in the downtown area associated with these amendments, then by all means, take the time you want to. If you want to move forward on them as is, that's, you know, that's up to the council as well. But you know, again, we've learned more in the last couple of months about what the guidance is coming from on that. There's going to be a presentation next week on Wednesday on it. And again, if the council feels like they would like to hear that before they take action on these amendments, I think that was the intention of Councilor Grow, to kind of pull off some of those that may or may not be relevant to that state guidance and continue those to another meeting in the future. But if you choose to take them up now, you can certainly do that as well.
so is it the MBTA that's doing the presentation next Wednesday?
No, it's a requirement that we have the discussion amongst ourselves. I will be providing a presentation that's a combination of information that I have that's a little bit more tailored to Gloucester, but also the backbone is what the state has been providing in terms of presentation and guidance that they've been doing over the last couple of months.
So you'll be kind of reiterating what the state is providing on
Yep.
Wednesday? Is
Yep.
that the full council, or is that P&D?
That's a joint meeting of the city council and the planning board.
Okay,
so
So would you like to make a motion to table this amendment and we can revisit it after this this next meeting? Or whenever we feel it's ready to go?
are you asking me?
I guess
I'm
I
asking
was,
Val because she was the one who was,
I was eager to move this because I'm not comfortable for 1 and 2 family homes to allow to increase the maximum by right height allowance to 35 feet. I don't think we should change the way we do it. So I was just looking for that. And then there's a part of me, Tracy, where I'm just thinking I need more information. Like let's say downtown, right? We're on Main Street and a particular house is between 2 45-foot multi-family high with retail on the bottom, right? And all of a sudden we want a developer wants to come in and do something with that middle building right now, right? And all the buildings around it are at 45 feet because that's what those buildings downtown are naturally, right? So I'm just not, I'm not sure if I'm ready to vote that yet until we understand a little bit more about,
So this doesn't say whether it's by right or by special permit, or is it understood that it's by right?
this is a
No.
max by right height allowance, right? That's-
Well, you have to be careful by saying it as of right, because if you look at the use regulations, right?
Yep.
All three families are by special permit. So this would have to go through a special permit. The only thing it does is it says that an applicant can come forward knowing that 35 feet fits into the allowed building height. They still have to get the special permit. They still have to have the abutter notification. They still have to go through that process.
So footnote B says maximum height for buildings may be increased by special permit. So that's after you've done the 35 feet. Footnote B says maximum height may be increased by special permit. So this is 35 feet by right, because if you want to go higher, you need a special permit.
You need a special permit to get a three-family regardless. So the special permit, to get above 35 feet, you would need to go to the city council. But for the ZBA special permit, conversion or to a new or multifamily apartment dwelling with 3 units would require a special permit regardless of where it is, except for central business, in which footnote 5 applies.
But this doesn't say that. It doesn't say, it says zoning ordinance section 3.2.
Are you on the use table or are you on the dimensional?
I have both here.
I'm talking about the use table, which
I got it. Yep.
dictates how a 3-unit is allowed, right? So it's not allowed in 80, not allowed in 40, and not allowed in RC 40. We've voted tonight to change 30,000 square foot 3-family to a special permit. So everybody has to go to a special permit except for central business. The 35 feet only changes the ability to come in with a fully developed 35-foot building for your special permit process, as opposed to getting additional, the additional 5 feet at that process. They can still deny the permit for any number of reasons, including overshadowing and any other issue that might come up during the ZBA special permit. But what you're trying to, I think the goal of the planning board was to allow more flexibility in the design while maintaining abutter input. And so that the process of going to the ZBA and coming with them with a plan and then asking them for something, you have to go back and then you've got to redesign your plans if they decide to give it to you. And then you got to come back and get approval. Each stage makes that process just that much more arduous. And I think that you still have to go for a special permit for the overall granting of a 3-family, but it allows you more design flexibility. But again, I'm responding mostly to the outrage of the 1-family and 2-family dwellings. I don't think that it's quite as warranted as some people made it out to be, because given, as we did last week in the city council, we granted an 18-foot special permit to a building, and you would never tell me in a million years that was 48 feet tall.
Well, you can't, I mean, that's a beautiful,
I know, I'm just pointing out that
old home.
obviously
and-
what they've seen.
Right, and buildings that are gonna be 45 feet high are not gonna look like that in R5. There's
Well,
just
we're also not talking about 45 feet right now. We're talking about 35 feet.
Okay, so which brings me to Amendment 9, because the Amendment 9 creates a minor footnote amendment to Amendment number 5 and 7. So we're on number 5, right?
Right?
We're on Amendment number 5.
Yeah.
So Amendment number 9 hooks on to amendment number 5 and says, amend the zoning ordinance 3.1.6 special permit for building heights in excess of section 3.2 limits by amending section 3.1.6 by retitling the section and amending the first sentence to read, B, building heights in excess of 35 feet or greater, building heights in excess of height requirements of 35 feet or 45 feet respectively, may be authorized by special permit issued by city council as reflected in the drafted proposal. So this footnote attaches to amendment 5, which allows you to go to 45 feet by special permit.
No, it allows you, what that footnote is doing is allocating the responsibility for allowing a height above 35 or 45 foot, depending on the situation. Let me finish. Depending on the situation, to the city council as opposed to the ZBA. Currently, the ZBA can go up to 35 feet. Now, if you change that, if we change the height allowance to 35 feet, the ZBA would no longer be in the process for granting a height exception, right? So if you went to the ZBA, the max you could get was 35 feet. If you wanted to go 36 feet, you'd have to go to the city council.
Right,
And
and
if-
right now it's at 30 feet. So if you need more, you have to, if you
But-
want 31, you have to go to city council,
No, 30, you have to go to ZBA.
ZBA.
Yeah, it takes the height requirement to 35 feet, which is what the ZBA is authorized to grant right now. They can go up to 35 feet if they want to. This is just saying that if you go, we're going to say that ZBA can go up to 35 feet with these projects. They still have the overall permitting authority for a 3-family, but the height is not going to be as critical in that equation for a 3-family. That's what I'm suggesting. If you go above 35 feet, you have to go to the city council for a special permit to get above 35 feet. That's for 35 feet residential usage. With 45 feet applies to multi-family, multi-use buildings that have commercial space on the bottom floor and residential above. That, then you get to the 45 feet. The zoning board could only go up to 45 feet at that point, because that's what the allowance would be. Anything above 45 feet would be a city council special permit.
Right. Yeah,
Jump in here if you think I'm missing something, Greg.
no, I
No,
understand. I
so the only
understand
thing
it.
I would clarify is it's the path of relief beyond the allowed height. So if you change the allowed height to 35 feet, again, whatever the permitting process is for the use remains, but the standard for that residential use would have a new ceiling of 35 feet. The way the height exception is written in section 3.1.6, there's essentially an ability to request additional height regardless of what the height requirement is. So in this case, if you reset the standards for multifamily, 35 in certain districts and then 45 in others, it's just being modified to reflect that you'd have to go to the city council above 35 in the districts that are identified for multifamily, or sorry, 3-family. And then in the CB and CCD district, if the height allowance was 45, a request beyond that would require a special permit from the city council.
Right, and this specifically states 35 feet or 45 feet. So
Depending on the use.
in excess of those height requirements may be authorized. I hear you. But I just don't like it. That's me.
The 45 only applies to those uses that would be allowed by 45, and that would be reflected in the amendment
Right.
7.
But
right?
so, okay, I'll tell you, because this is conversation, right?
Yeah.
My fear, okay, or one of my fears, I guess. We go to 45 feet in the R5 district.
Mhm.
And then the MBTA comes in and says, okay, well, now we can go to 60 feet and we're gonna have 5-story buildings all around my neighborhood, and they're gonna be multi-unit dwellings 60 feet high, and that's not what my neighborhood's about. And it's not gonna be the beautiful building on Beacon Street. It's just, I don't want to be another Salem or another Beverly or another Revere. That's what I'm foreseeing. And that's my fear. I mean, because we could talk freely, right? So that's where I'm coming from. That's where I live. I live there. I mean, I don't live, in East Gloucester or Magnolia or, I live where you're talking to putting all those units and all those people. I'm telling you, we have neighbor wars, and I don't know, I've been fighting with my neighbor since I was a kid. Right? And they just keep twisting the knife. And to put people on top of them, I mean, what is the, have we even thought about crime rates, like in more dense neighborhoods as opposed to rural neighborhoods? Have we looked at that? I meant to go down and see Chief Conley, but I didn't get there to see if he might have that information, because it has to be relative, because the closer you are to someone, the closer your quarters. I mean, even in the house, right? If you don't have any place to get away from your spouse, yikes, you got to get away, right? You got to go upstairs, downstairs. You need space. Everybody needs space. And this is taking that away. And, I know a lot of talk that's about mental health these days. And this is not good for my mental health. It's not good for anyone's to be, it's just, that's what I foresee. And I am obviously against it. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you for letting me ramble on.
Yeah, that's all right. So we said we would go that way. So we have a motion, but we don't have a second. So where are we now?
I don't quite know.
You can vote no. It's voting no is a perfectly
I
reasonable.
really don't. I just keep reading this over and over again. I've been thinking about this
Mm,
since 7 o'clock this morning, like really hard. So I'm not completely sure.
I've been drinking and sleeping this for weeks.
Okay, well,
So,
Yeah.
the process in me feels a need to understand the guidelines before we make a decision. So, if
The
we go back-
guidelines of the MBTA.
Yes, I just want to understand it more, because all of this as a whole, the way it's written right now, I understand Tracy's desire to keep it together, and I'm trying to be respectful to that. But at the same time, I really want to understand what the guidelines are. And, and it's not what the MBTA wants us to do, it's what we want to do. So even if we understand the guidelines, we still have the opportunity to deal with how we want to deal with the zoning, correct, Greg? I mean, we're gonna, this information that we're gonna do, that we have to do before May, before May 2nd. We have to show the the state that we've had a meeting with the city council, and that we've provided the state, with the information on how our zoning looks today, correct?
Correct.
That's basically what we're doing. And
Yep.
then the rest all evolves in terms of what the guidelines end up looking like And then we decide as a city council if we want to comply or not, correct?
So, I mean, it is a state law that has, and they are working through the guidelines. But ultimately, it is council action.
I have.
If there are amendments that comply, they would have to be approved by the council.
Right.
If they're not approved by the council, it rests with the council.
Right, so we.
I
so we-
have,
Right, yeah,
I'll
so,
finish here.
yeah,
can I just tell you that I have the draft compliance guidelines for multifamily districts under section 3A of the zoning act that was put out by the Department of Housing and Development. And I just want to read you one paragraph 7. I mean, I've got multifamily district means a zoning district, including an overlay district in which multifamily uses are allowed by right. That's just one, all right? I'm gonna skip to number 7, determining suitability for families with children. Section 3A states that a compliant multifamily district must be without age restrictions and must be suitable for families with children. Department of Housing and Community Development will deem a multifamily district to comply with these requirements as long as the zoning does not require multifamily uses to include units with age restrictions and does not place any limits or restrictions on the size of the units, the number of bedrooms, the size of the bedrooms, or the number of occupants. Now, with 2,270 units at the train station, they have to be family friendly, right? So they can't be one unit apartments. They can't be one bedroom apartments. So let's take the minimum of 2-bedroom apartments. Right now, legally, 5 people can live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I know this. You want to know why or how? I'll tell you. But so take the 2,270 times 5 people is 11,350 people right there in the R5 district around the train station, within a half mile, maybe within a mile. Okay, that's a lot of people. And with no limit on the number of occupants, this scares the heck out of me. Because I had a woman who didn't pay rent, who came and it was her mother and her daughter. Come to find out, she had 2 grown boys living upstairs from me. And it's legally allowed, but at least there was a limit. She couldn't have had a 3rd kid. She couldn't have had a 3rd boy. She couldn't have had 6 people. This one has no limit on the number of occupants. This is ludicrous. It's crazy.
It's also, we haven't adopted it. It's, I mean,
Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid. Right, and the thing is, first we were told it had nothing to do with MBTA TOD. Okay, and now we want to wait to see what the MBTA says.
all right,
Well,
I'll jump
this
in there. I'll jump in there again.
Yeah.
I took the position that you, as a ward counselor, had been getting enough grief about this. I would be perfectly happy going through all these things tonight and passing them. I'm responding to your concerns and Frank's concerns in Ward 3 about what the impacts are for the TOD. I'm not suggesting that I've changed my opinion that the MBTA communities is reflected in what these zoning amendments are. I'm trying to be cognizant of the fact that we maybe can delay some of this action until we get some more information. I'm perfectly happy to move forward and approve all these if you want to. But I'm trying to give some latitude to you as the ward counselor of an impacted district, time for us to hear what this actually means. I don't know what the date of that letter was, but
It's not dated.
well, and I don't know what to make of it. I mean, Greg, I don't want you to dive down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what this is all about. But I mean, I see us pulling back on some of these things, not as a response to, well, we got to see what the MBTA wants us to do. More, let's make sure that what we're doing is best for Gloucester, which I think some of these things are. And we don't want to, if we decide for whatever reason, and again, I don't know because I haven't seen it, that the MBTA communities make sense, or we can make it make sense, or we can develop a way to make what our existing zoning is make sense within those confines, then fine. And if we can't, then maybe we don't go with it. I haven't made a commitment one way or the other because I haven't heard what the details are.
Right.
But if
No,
so I'm of the mind that, I'm also cognizant of the fact that we've had a lot of pushback about 35 feet in single and two family houses. And my feeling is there are relatively few 3-family dwellings that are going to be produced, even with the changes we're making here, that the addition of that facilitating better design and a better structure was worth moving forward with. But I can see we're kind of at loggerheads here. I would move forward with the 3-family with the maintenance of the special permit for the allowance of 3 families. So you have oversight, you have neighbor community, input. I would remove R80, R40, RC40 because they're not 3 families anyway. And that's how I would move this forward.
so to amend the maximum building height to 35 feet in the following districts. So
Be R30, R20, R10, R5,
Yeah,
CCD,
right.
village business, but only for 3-family structures.
Right, I'm not going to agree to that, sorry.
Okay, well, that's all right. We haven't even gotten a second on the motion yet. So this if you don't want to second it, just say
I am just struggling with this right now, okay? Because we have a choice. We have a choice right now. And we're trying to do the right thing. So
I think we have a three options here. We move and move Tracy's amendment motion as it's stated. We move second motion and I try to amend it, and whatever happens, happens. Or you vote, you make a motion to table this until we have greater discussion on the MBTA communities. I think that's where we're at. And I'm frankly, I'm fine with any one of those.
So I know I'm giving you a real hard time. I know that, but I
Don't-
just,
Tracy.
because I don't know either. I mean,
This,
You know?
listen, I know that these are issues that affect each of us personally. And when I say it's not personal, I understand it is personal for you on this particular issue, but your feelings about this, I don't take personally. Okay. I understand where you're
right.
coming from. I respect that. I respect that you have a different constituency to answer to, and that's all fine and dandy. I'm not gonna not talk to you because we disagree on a motion.
Oh, no, I know that. I know that. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if it is better to wait and see what the MBTA says, or whether it's better to pass it now before the MBTA comes to town. You know what I mean? That's kind of,
My feeling is that the goal of these amendments is to facilitate the creation of infill housing. And I believe that doing that with the 3-family makes the most sense at 35 feet. I do understand people don't want giant 35-foot single family or 2-family houses. I get that. But if the goal is to facilitate the creation of quote unquote, more affordable units within 3 families, this does that. And I think we can modify it, and it would apply to a relatively few properties. I don't think it's going to have, we figured out that there's not that many properties in R5 that could actually even accommodate the creation of a new 3-family.
oh yeah, I think, can I tell you a fun fact?
Sure.
The Green Monster is 37 feet high,
Yes.
Fenway.
It's a baseball
So,
thing, right?
yeah, well, but I mean, so just imagine.
Well, they would have to
Something
come
that
before us
high.
for a city council special permit. I get what you're saying.
So
but-
if we don't have a second to the motion, it dies in committee.
Yeah,
and Just walk away from it right now.
is that
Right.
how we want to do this?
I don't know. I'm just, it's a fourth option. Or we remove the components here and create it into two and take it up as two separate motions. Because I'm pretty certain how I want to vote on single and two family. I'm not certain how I feel about the three family dwellings because I want to hear from the MBTA. I want to understand what that means. It doesn't negate that I'm passionate, Tracy, and I'm absolutely willing to be hearing from the whole public and understand everything. If we learn about the MBTA stuff, we're gonna be back discussing this and we're gonna have as much passion as then. So it doesn't we don't lose the passion and the momentum. I just feel a need to understand these guidelines and
Okay.
right now I don't understand them and they're not done yet. So
Right.
we don't even know what it means to us because we're,
Right.
it's
Then
like,
I suggest we make a motion to table this one and return to it later.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Who has the most power? Does the city have more power over what the state says? Or does the state have more power over what the city says?
I have all the power.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I like that either.
This ultimately, the city has the power to do what the city wants to do.
Okay,
There are consequences to that. And
I know that. Yeah, I've read that.
consequences, but
Right.
the
right.
answer is it rests with us. It rests with the city council and
Okay.
ultimately always will. So, you know,
Okay,
they can be tough on us, but we can make the decision that that's, not in our best interest. So,
all right, good. That makes me feel better. That gives me, I'm sorry, what?
and I'm perfectly open to that. I'm not, I
Okay.
haven't come to a conclusion on the MBTA communities at all. I don't generally like to be forced to do things.
Right, right.
So I understand that, but at the same time, you look at the pros and the cons and how things weigh out. They may make changes that are big. They may not make changes that are big, but we haven't got there yet. So Val, do you want to make a motion to table this amendment and we can move on to 6?
yeah, sorry,
I know I got my dinner here too.
no, my dog is just all over me right now, drooling and everything else. Cooper, go away, go see daddy. I recommend to the city council,
Just make a motion to,
I make a motion to table the amendment number 5 on the zoning ordinance section 3.2.1 dimensional requirements for single, two-family and three-family dwellings by amending the maximum building height feet to 35 feet in the following zoning districts: R80, R40, RC40, R30, R20, R10, R5, CCD, CB, and VB as reflected in the drafted proposal, and I so move.
Second,
okay, it's been moved and seconded to table this amendment. A roll call vote.
Yes.
Do we have discussion? I thought we had discussion, so I'll just go.
yeah,
right-
no, yeah.
All right, yes. Council Gilman,
Yes,
Yes.
Council O'Neill,
yes.
Council Jason, Grow, yes. So this is on the, this will set this on the side here and we'll get to number 6. This is a quote unquote minor footnote amendment to amendment 2 and 3 to recommend to the city council to amend the